The Red Bull circus is back in town. Brace yourselves. Red Bull is singing a different tune, saying they won't stand in Max Verstappen's way if he wants an exit. But wait, there's more. They've got not one but two potential replacements all set and revved up. Red Bull's oozing confidence, claiming their car is the real champ maker and any ace driver can snag the championship in it. Red Bull has faced a tumultuous month, not due to on-track performance but internal team challenges and power struggles. The season's shaky start was compounded by allegations against Christian Horner, leading to an internal investigation that cleared him of any wrongdoing. Despite the verdict, numerous leaks from within the team suggest a lack of control over the situation. Max Verstappen and Helmut Marko reportedly expressed dissatisfaction with keeping Horner, with Marko even hinting at the possibility of his departure. If Marko decides to leave, it could trigger a clause in Max Verstappen's contract, allowing him to exit without violating the agreement. This situation adds an extra layer of complexity to Red Bull's internal dynamics. Despite Red Bull's claims that they wouldn't prevent Max Verstappen from leaving if he chooses, there are reports that the team principal Christian Horner has already made plans to recruit two new drivers in case Verstappen decides to join Mercedes in 2025. Horner, who has faced scrutiny recently due to allegations of inappropriate behavior, has managed to retain his position as the team's boss after a Red Bull GmbH investigation cleared him. In addition to dealing with this issue, Horner had also navigated a fallout with Max Verstappen, Max's father. There were speculations about the potential suspension of special advisor Helmut Marko, which were later denied. Verstappen's surprising statement about leaving the team if Marko is sacked has highlighted a division among key figures in the team. While Horner has praised Verstappen publicly, the Dutch driver appears hesitant to openly support his under-pressure boss. Recent reports strongly indicate that if Christian Horner continues as the team leader, Max Verstappen is likely to leave. Toto Wolff, the head of Mercedes, has openly expressed his admiration for Verstappen and would eagerly seize the opportunity to bring him on board as a potential replacement for Lewis Hamilton. In case Max Verstappen decides to leave, it seems Christian Horner is looking to bring in two new drivers, Alex Albon from Williams and Oscar Piastri from McLaren. There's also an expectation that Sergio Perez, currently 33 years old, might leave when his contract ends this season. Both Albon and Piastri have contracts with their current teams for 2025, but Red Bull seems undeterred. They are reportedly willing to offer substantial amounts of money to secure these two drivers. Despite the possibility of losing their top driver, Horner's position is backed by support from Red Bull's major shareholder, Newey. Horner also believes that Verstappen isn't crucial for winning races and championships, suggesting that the Dutchman has benefited from having the fastest car in the last two seasons. Alex Albon, having Thai roots like the Newey family, might find his way back to Red Bull, especially given his history with the team. Albon, who progressed through the Red Bull Academy, competed in 26 races for the team during the 2019 and 2020 seasons before being replaced by Sergio Perez. Oscar Piastri, on the other hand, is managed by Mark Webber, a well-liked figure at the Milton Keynes factory. The opportunity to step into Max Verstappen's role at Red Bull might be enticing for Piastri, especially since Lando Norris has solidified his position as McLaren's top driver. Christian Horner, expressing admiration for Mark Webber's skills, previously attempted to sign him, but Webber eventually became Alpine's reserve driver. Helmut Marko, the top advisor at Red Bull, recently mentioned to ORF that there is a theoretical possibility of him getting suspended, and he can't confirm if he'll be at the next Grand Prix in Australia. It seems like there's a power struggle within the team, and both the accuser and Marko are facing potential suspensions. The situation is a bit unclear at the moment. While Marko isn't suspended yet, he raised the possibility himself. It's worth noting that Jos, who is involved in the controversy, isn't actually employed by Red Bull. Some suggest he should be kept away from the garage during crucial moments of the races, perhaps restricted to the hospitality area. There's a perception that Christian Horner, the team principal, has come out on top in this situation. Initially implicated, it now appears that any potential threats to Horner are being dealt with, possibly to shield him. However, due to the limited information available from Red Bull, it's speculative. The question remains, what has Horner won in this situation? Red Bull Advanced Technologies Limited and Red Bull Powertrains are owned by Red Bull GmbH. If there's been a behind-the-scenes takeover, Horner might find himself without key key partnerships like Ford and Honda without Max Verstappen, and potentially lacking respect within the racing community. The outcome remains uncertain. During the Saudi Grand Prix, Max Verstappen expressed loyalty to Helmut Marko, and despite Max being known for speaking his mind, he insisted on the importance of Marko's presence for him to stay with Red Bull. Some suggest there might be a clause in Max's contract linking his stay with Marko. It raises questions about when this clause could come into play. Is it something that could be triggered next year, or even next week? Looking ahead, if the current situation unfolds as it appears, it could make things awkward for Max to stick around this year. Moreover, considering Max's contract extends beyond 2024, the timing of his potential departure, whether it's next week or at the end of 24, is a factor worth considering. Interestingly, Toto Wolff, the head of Mercedes, seems to be in a fortunate position. Having joined a team that would go on to become one of the best in F1 history, he now has the chance to sign one of the greatest drivers ever. However, there's a twist. He might be offering this exceptional driver a less competitive racing machine, creating an intriguing dynamic in the F1 landscape. It's quite a situation with these individuals who seem to be stuck in their own egos. Dietrich, the team's owner, might not have set up a clear plan for succession. What's striking is that they couldn't come together and agree on a reasonable arrangement, like acknowledging Helmut's age, giving both Christian and Helmut equal power with board intervention when they disagree, and a written promise that Christian takes full control upon Helmut's retirement. These top-notch professionals, despite their success, sometimes struggle with big egos and a never-lose attitude. This mindset, which contributes to their success, can also blind them to the broader perspective that outsiders can see. This attitude might be a factor in their own downfall. As for Max Verstappen, there's a possibility he could retire from Formula One and switch to World Endurance Championship, WEC. Having already achieved his goals and not being overly concerned about surpassing Lewis Hamilton's records, Max may be drawn to WEC, especially given his disliking of the F1 schedule and PR aspects. If he doesn't find a good fit for winning in WEC, leaving F1 entirely wouldn't be surprising. The ongoing saga might be quite irritating for him, shifting the focus from his on-track performance to team drama. The moment Max learned about his closest ally in Red Bull facing termination, likely didn't sit well with him. The remainder of this season could resemble the situation Michael Jordan faced in 1997 to 1998, where after every game he had to address questions about his future in the sport. In every interview today, Max Verstappen seems to be ignoring Christian Horner, and it's quite perplexing. It doesn't sound like he's downplaying Horner. Rather, Max seems to be deliberately emphasizing that he doesn't mind if Horner leaves, but he won't tolerate what he sees as a betrayal of Helmut Marko. While we can speculate about the reasons behind Max's feelings, the important thing is that he's openly supporting Marko, even though he typically avoids political questions. This suggests that there's something significant happening behind the scenes, and the possibility of Marko getting removed is real. Otherwise, Max wouldn't feel compelled to express his support so strongly. Moreover, Max isn't the type to make empty threats or bluffs. The hope is that Max doesn't exit Formula One just yet. It would be more interesting to see him drive for a different team instead. Max Verstappen's previous comments about his longevity in Formula One should also be taken into account, predating the current situation. If he reaches a point where he no longer wants to drive for Red Bull, but they prevent him from joining another team, he might choose to retire from F1 and explore other racing avenues like the World Endurance Championship, WEC. It would be disheartening to see one of the most skilled drivers exit the sport during his prime due to these issues. Newey has indicated a willingness to test the legality of any restrictive clause in Max's contract. Despite any legal challenges, the reality remains that if Max doesn't want to drive for Red Bull, he doesn't have to. He could simply park the car at the first corner and end his race. In this equation, the drivers hold considerable power. The potential downside could be forcing Max to fulfill his contractual obligations by attending every race until it expires. However, Max has options too. He could indirectly incur significant costs for Red Bull, impacting both finances and brand image. In such a scenario, it might be in Red Bull's best interest to release him, allowing for the possibility of bringing in drivers like Alonso or Sainz.